In this video, we're going to take a look at comparison operators and then how we can use the in and not in a where clause in order to filter our data. So we're going to start again with our base table that we've been using for the most part for our queries here. This is going to be the DBO employees. If I go ahead and run this, it's going to give me that base. And if I decide that I want to try to code something and only retrieve those particular employees that live in the city of London, I can use a where clause to add a condition, to add a filter condition. I'm going to specify that the field that I want to filter on is going to be equal to London. With my filter conditions and using the comparison operators, I can use an equal, I can use a greater than or equal to, a less than or equal to, or a not equal. In this case, I'm using an equal. When I run this, I can see that I'm returning only those particular employees that are living in London at this point in time. Now, if I decide that I want to go ahead and I want to select anybody that reports to somebody that is greater than 2, I can do that as well. So I can do the reports to. We know that this is an integer value, so I would just change this to greater than 2, and I'm going to only return those people that have a value that are associated, that's reporting to somebody that's greater than 2. Now, if I do something where it's greater than or equal to 2, I should pick up those that are also 2. So I should pretty much get everybody except for the one record that has the null. So I can use these types of comparison. Now, if I also have somebody that I want to look for anybody that is in the city of Seattle or Kirkland or Redmond, I can do that using an in statement. So I can say city is in Seattle, comma, Kirkland, comma, Redmond. So this is pretty much a comma-separated list within parentheses that I use with my in statement. When I run this, it's only going to be returning those particular values to me. Now, if I want to go ahead and invert this, I can say not in, and it's going to then, of course, return me everybody that is not in that particular list that we have specified there. If we go over to our SQL developer environment and we can look at our comparison and our in and not in. In this case, we're going to use our inventory table. I'm just going to expand it to show the columns. A lot of these are the primary key and then foreign key relations into other tables. And next week when we get into joining tables, this data in the CO schema will make a lot more sense. But we're going to just work with what we have right now. And the first thing that we want to do is I'm a manager for store 1, 5, and 10. So I want to pull the inventory that I have in the system for store number 1. So I can do a select statement. And from this inventory, I can use a where condition. So I can say where store ID is equal to 1. And if I execute this, it's going to return to me all the inventory that store 1 has in it. If I decide that, you know what, my 1, 5, and 10 are doing okay, but I know that the stores that are larger than 10, so any store ID that's greater than 10, are really doing fabulous, and maybe I'm missing out on some of the inventory, and I should look over their inventory and see if I need to put something in inventory that might sell. So I can go ahead and I can change this to a greater than sign and make this 10, and I can then retrieve all the inventory for all the stores over 10. And then I can kind of peruse through the data and see if there's anything in there that I don't have in my store that I can add to my store's inventory. I could also maybe, because I have 3 stores, I have 1, 5, and 10, maybe I want to see a consolidated list of all the inventory for my stores 1, 5, and 10. And I can use an in statement to do that. And I can just basically say in 1, 5, 10, and it's going to then run the query and show me all the inventory for stores that have an ID of either 1, 5, or 10. So let's go ahead and run that query. And it's going to give me all of those results. Now I could do something later on when I learn about the order by to sort it into store order and make it a little bit cleaner, but it's giving me the gist here for that information. But what happens if I want to look at all the inventory that's not in my store that I might want to put in my store? I can say not in my store. So 1, 5, and 10 are my store. So I want to look at everything outside of my store. So I would change that and invert that condition to a not. If we execute that, then it's going to bring us back more data that doesn't include the 1, the 5, or the 10. So it's giving us a lot more data based off of the conditions, not 5, not 1, not 10. It's like we're adding additional filters, but we're really not. We're just using that not in condition that's taking care of filtering that accordingly. This is kind of a segue into our next video where we're going to get into our logical operators where we can add multiple filter conditions to our queries.